Hello everyone. Today I would like to share with you a little-known surprise about one of the most influential presidents in history, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He is often referred to as FDR. This nickname is an acronym for his full name, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. In the United States, prominent presidents are often referred to by their initials, and FDR is one of them. FDR is often referred to by his initials, as the wheelchair-bound president, the architect of the New Deal, the leader of World War II, and so on. FDR is often referred to by various titles, but in fact, there are many unexpected facets to him that we are unaware of. Today, we will be going into those unknown facts. If you watch this video to the end, you will surely see a humanistic FDR that you will not find in textbooks. So let's get started. Chapter 1. A secret health problem. On August 10, 1921, one event would change the course of Roosevelt's life, as he was enjoying a successful career as a politician in New York State. While vacationing on Campobello Island, Canada, he was struck by a sudden high fever and severe fatigue. The symptoms, initially thought to be a summer cold, were in fact the beginning of a terrible illness. The diagnosis was polio. Within a few days of the onset of the disease, the lower half of his body was completely paralyzed. It was a shocking onset of illness at the age of 39, the prime of his political career. But here is the surprising part. He decided to hide his disability from the public. Why? Because in the United States at that time, physical disability was considered a symbol of weakness, and caused people to question his suitability as a leader. So how did he hide it? It was as elaborate as a modern media strategy. First, he established a perfect staging system for his public appearances. He would be flanked on both sides by his son or close associates, who would support the weight on his arms and make it look as if he were walking on his own. The person supporting him is never made to look as if he is assisting. I tried to act natural, as if we were friends enjoying a casual conversation. We also had strict rules for the press. We strictly forbade photographing them in their wheelchairs. Photographers were given detailed instructions on the angles and distances from which they could take pictures. Violators were strictly forbidden from future coverage. As a result, during his 13-year presidency, only 2 photos of him in his wheelchair have survived. Surprisingly, he developed his own rehabilitation methods to overcome this disability. Swimming was at the center of this process. In the water, he was freed from the constraints of gravity and could move his body freely. In Warm Springs, Georgia, the facility he established for his rehabilitation remains today. It had a specially designed heated pool where FDR spent many hours a day in the water. In fact, this facility later developed into a treatment center for polio patients, and became the hope of many patients. Even more surprisingly, he sometimes dealt with his own disability with humor. According to aides, in private he would joke, "My legs are useless, but my brain is functioning perfectly." Such thorough concealment and the positive efforts that were made at the same time. This may have been the source of his strong mental strength as a future president. Chapter 2. The Genius Communicator. Hear the voice of the people, speak in the language of the people. This was FDR's communication philosophy. But behind it all was thorough preparation and research that even today's influencers would be proud of. Especially the famous fireside chats. This method of addressing the public through radio in a friendly tone, as if he were a member of the family, was in fact meticulously calculated. First of all, there were unique innovations from the manuscript preparation stage. FDR developed a special symbol system. For example, he used the symbol for short pauses and for long pauses. Red underlines were used for emphasis, and wavy lines were drawn for intonation, as if he were a professional voice actor or announcer. He also paid close attention to the speed at which he spoke. Whereas a typical radio broadcast at the time consisted of about 170 words per minute, FDR's speech was reduced to about 100 words per minute, making it easier to understand and more memorable. Even more remarkable is his facial expression management. Every morning when he prepared himself, he practiced various facial expressions in front of the mirror. In particular, he repeatedly studied the angle of his confident smile when appearing in photographs. In modern parlance, this would be called searching for the best angle. The results of this thorough preparation can be seen in the figures. The average viewership rate for fireside chats, which began in 1933, was 63%. In today's social networking world, this means that almost all of the public was a follower. He was also adept at building relationships with the press. It was FDR who first introduced regular press conferences. He would joke with the reporters and sometimes entertain them by pretending to leak confidential information. This approach helped him build a good rapport with the media. He also understood the power of silence. Before an important announcement, he would intentionally stay away from the media for a few days in order to raise public expectations and interest. This is a very modern marketing strategy. Chapter 3. Unique Hobbies and Daily Life. It may come as a surprise to learn that a man with the heavy responsibility of president had such a wide variety of hobbies. However, by learning about FDR's personal hobbies and daily life, we can see a more human side to him. The first thing worth noting is his passion for stamp collecting. It is more than just a hobby, it is a level of professionalism. His collection has grown to more than 400,000 pieces. It is said that he started collecting stamps at the age of 12, and he continued this hobby even after he became president. He always kept an up-to-date stamp catalog in the Oval Office to keep himself informed of rare stamps from around the world. Of particular interest is the fact that he even had a say in the design of the stamps. He was involved in the design of the 1934 stamps of the National Parks series, and even gave instructions on color and composition. He also, not surprisingly, enjoyed cooking as a hobby. In particular, he had an extraordinary passion for making cocktails. During the Prohibition era, he secretly researched recipes and created a number of original cocktails. His martini, in particular, is said to have been a masterpiece. The recipe is quite simple. Gin, vermouth, and a few drops of olive brine as a secret ingredient. He was particular about not shaking it vigorously, but stirring it gently. He also had a hobby, collecting model ships. He had a deep knowledge of ships, having served as Assistant Secretary of the Navy. He always had several model ships on display in his office, which he used as a conversation starter with visitors. He was also a great fan of spy novels. He never missed his bedtime reading time, especially British spy novels. This hobby meant more than mere entertainment. In fact, it is said that this experience was utilized in the later establishment of the OSS, Office of Strategic Intelligence, the predecessor of today's CIA. As for his daily routine, he always had a cocktail hour at 11:30 p.m. every evening. During this time, no political topics were allowed. They talked about their stamp collections, their impressions of novels they had recently read, or even about their fishing prowess. Chapter 4. Unexpected Relationships with the Family. In public, the Roosevelts presented an ideal family image. The reality, however, was far more complex than we had imagined. The turning point was an event in 1918. His wife, Eleanor, discovered a letter that revealed a relationship with her husband's private secretary, Lucy Mercer. After this discovery, their relationship changed dramatically. Surprisingly, however, this crisis did not completely destroy their relationship, but rather allowed it to evolve into a new form. Eleanor decided to maintain their relationship as a couple, but to pursue her own political career. FDR supported this as well. This established a new relationship between them as political partners. As the eyes and ears of the president, Eleanor traveled throughout the United States, listening directly to the voices of workers and the poor. This information was delivered to FDR in detailed reports and had a major impact on policymaking. Even more interesting is the relationship with the children. Of the 6 children, 5 chose political or military careers. This was not by chance, but because FDR intentionally involved his children in public affairs. For example, the oldest son, James, served as his father's campaign manager, while the second son, Elliot, served in the Air Force. The third son, Franklin Jr., joined the Navy, and the youngest son, John, also served in the Navy. The only daughter, Anna, would later play an important role as her father's personal secretary. How was it? In this video, we have introduced you to Franklin Delano Roosevelt as a human being, a man not found in history textbooks. Although he was stricken with polio at the age of 39, he overcame his disability and served 4 terms of 13 years as president, the longest in U.S. history. Behind his success was more effort and ingenuity than we can imagine. While accepting the reality of life in a wheelchair, he never let it be a limitation in his life, but rather turned adversity into strength. His innovative communication skills were also relevant in today's social media age. His communication skills were truly ahead of their time, as he calculated everything from word choice, speaking speed, and facial expression to the way he spoke. Then there are his hobbies as an individual and his relationship with his family. Stamp collecting, cocktail making, model ships. These hobbies were his emotional support in the midst of his hard work. His complex relationship with his wife, Eleanor, is also very suggestive when viewed from a modern value perspective. They were not bound by traditional marital forms, but recognized each other's individuality and developed a new form of partnership. Finally, let us summarize what we can learn from him. First, that obstacles and difficulties do not necessarily mean limitations in life. FDR hid his disabilities, but found ways to overcome them, or rather, gained new strength from them. Second, the importance of communication. Even the best policies and ideas are meaningless if they are not properly communicated. FDR understood and practiced that principle perfectly, and that conventional solutions are not necessarily the only answers to life's complex problems. The new relationship he and Eleanor established is a good example of this. Thus, we can learn a lot of wisdom from FDR's life that is relevant to us living today. The great figures of history are not distant. They, just like us, were troubled, thoughtful, and sometimes failed as they went through life. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel and click the good button. See you all next time.